to the great state of Utah, where in Provo, they are killing it this offseason. Yesterday, Scotty Swingler and I talked about how impressive BYU's offseason has been. And I have, if you watch this show, constantly given a tip of the cap to BYU, what they've done with Kevin Young. I believe that the Cougars are now the blueprint for every other college basketball program in America. The moment they hired Kevin Young and the way that he has that program running basically like an NBA organization, which not only creates a culture where you can win, it also becomes really attractive to recruits. Because let's face it, everybody wants to play in the NBA. I mean, I wanted to play in the NBA. I had no chance. But we all have those aspirations. So why wouldn't you go somewhere where you can get a top flight opportunity to go to the next level? However, when we talked about this yesterday, we were, and I can say, by the way, I did my due diligence this morning. We got Jake Hatch coming on this morning from Locked On Cougars. I reached out to Steve Bartle, a writer for KSL out in Salt Lake City. I also reached out to Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12. Bartle's at the doctor. Toll is dealing with the family thing, and Hatch is actually on the air right now. So I don't want to be over here like footloose and fancy free, but like I said, Hatch is going to join us tomorrow. But in the present moment, I know that Scotty has done some research, and I know that he wants to address yesterday's controversy because, and we appreciate this. A lot of Cougar fans were in the comments, dude, and it wasn't pretty for some of them, Scotty. I mean, some of them. By the way, I've called many games in Provo, and it's an amazing experience at the Marriott Center. I've got to know the people out there. I love Provo, and it's an amazing place to play. But we were talking about what lures players to go there right now. Yeah. Like everywhere else, outside of the Kevin Young stuff, I talked about how attractive that is. But money is a big thing here.
Big time. Yeah. And hey, I want to personally thank everybody that commented and interacted with that video yesterday. That's awesome. Like we actually love it. And frankly, like if I think Pete feels the same way. If we ever say anything that is inaccurate or clearly 100% untrue, please correct us. Like we love it. So this is our attempt to respond to. We got a lot of comments yesterday from BYU fans and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I think the main takeaway from all of them that they wanted to make clear, and this is where I told Pete this morning, I need to use more precise language because I think mentally I meant this, but it wasn't very precise as we were just spitballing.
Of course,
yesterday.
And that's you got to realize, like I don't want to come in on here and push back, but we're on the air here, and this is obviously live. Like it's like a conversation you have with someone. As careful as we want to be with comments that we make and the accuracy of them, I've learned from Colin Cowherd, and I appreciate Howard Stern and his ability to broadcast and all these years. Like I've heard those guys openly talk about it. Like you're on the air for 3 hours a day. Like you're going to say some.
You say some things that are a little
precise. Yeah. So
imprecise. Yeah. So here's the main takeaway from all those comments, and I thank all of you. Main takeaway is the church itself is not funding NIL. I did not mean to imply that, but I can certainly see why that could have been implied from our comments yesterday. So just want to clarify, and I thought Lou Miles did the best job of summarizing this, and I appreciate Lou's comment. He said, I can unequivocally state that no church funds are expended for NIL money on BYU athletics in general. Specifically, NIL money comes from a myriad of wealthy BYU donors through the Cougar Collective. Fans are worldwide, and there is no end to booster money from these supporters. That is what I think we both meant to say, and we're probably imprecise in saying yesterday.
Yeah, and that's, I think that was the point. Like I grew up Catholic, right? Villanova is a Catholic school outside of Philadelphia, but it's one of many Catholic schools in that area, let alone in the country, right? Some places in America there's obviously not as many Catholics, but when you look at BYU being one of, and again, we could get down and split hairs, but
I've got some details on that if we want to talk about that next.
Yeah, please.
So that was another, I think, multi-comment refrain we heard from many people was people were commenting like, oh, Scotty said BYU is the only Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints school. There's actually more than that. I just want to I'm not doubling down on, there's only one. But I do want to double down on the difference between, I brought up Baptist specifically because I went to Baylor.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Baptist church, so that's the world I know well. And my comparison was, if you're a Baptist, there's dozens of schools you could be root for, be an alumni of, support with your giving towards NIL. It's not just Baylor. Baylor's the biggest one, but there's tons of them.
Yeah.
And whereas with BYU, I feel like BYU is really the only one. That was kind of my comment yesterday. So I asked ChatGPT, and your mileage may vary on how you appreciate ChatGPT, but for information gathering, it can be useful. And I just asked, how many Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints colleges are there in the United States? And it replied, as of now, the LDS Church directly operates 4 higher education institutions in the United States: BYU Idaho, BYU Hawaii, and Ensign College, which some commenters shared with me as well. So that's for LDS churches. So I asked about Baptist colleges, and its first response was that number is really difficult to estimate because there are so many Baptist and so many schools which directly or indirectly affiliate with Baptist, which is kind of what I said yesterday. So I said, okay, fair enough. Give me your best guesstimation. And it said there are approximately 80 to 100 Baptist colleges in the United States. And I said, can you just tell me a few that compete in NCAA athletics? And it shared Baylor, Liberty, which I think people forget. That's a Baptist school that is Division I competitive in football, competitive in basketball, Samford, and then California Baptist and Dallas Baptist are quickly rising. I know, being from Texas, a lot of Baptists in Texas support Dallas Baptist.
Dallas Baptist has a great baseball team.
They do, yeah. And a lot of Baptists in Texas support them rather than Baylor for different reasons. So all that to say, going again back to the comment we received from the what I just say is Lou. Yep.
Lou.
Going back to Lou's comment. If you are a member of the LDS Church around the world, your biggest and most well-known institution of higher learning by far is BYU. Mm-hmm. And so if you have interest in the athletic department, NIL, that's where your dollars go. That's what Lou said. That's what I think we were trying to say.
And I would love to hear, and again, we're going to talk to Jay Catch about this.
Yeah, we'll have more perspectives on that.
But I would love to hear how often donations come to BYU from people who didn't go to school there. I would be interested to hear that too.
Yeah. Well, and so I've heard specifically too, that's why.
And not that you have to go to school. I didn't go to Villanova. I grew up there. I went to Richmond. My whole family went there, but I have a total, I've talked about it a million times, connection with that school. And it's like a blood relative. So if I was like a billionaire or millionaire, I probably would go donate to Richmond first. You get my idea.
But so something that's been pointed out to me in seasons past is the reason their fans travel so well, the reason so many of them show up at McLean Stadium is not necessarily because they're all flying down from Utah, though some certainly do.
Yeah.
It's that there are LDS church members in Texas that they can come catch a game in Waco and they come and they support BYU. Like that is a very, very unique, and I think cool, by the way. I think that's a really special element of that school. The ties with the church, I think, are really, really special and significant and good. There was one more thing that all the comments pointed out I wanted to not fail.
We should have tried to get Caleb Lohner on. I will tell you this, like one thing I think of when I think of BYU and its current standing, and it reminds me of Notre Dame without the competition, in a sense where there was a time when every Catholic in America, it seemed like, was behind Notre Dame, right? Like if you were Catholic, because a lot of times in the Northeast, you don't have like a powerhouse football program. It just doesn't work like that up there. Not like it does in Texas or Florida, or, when you get to the West Coast, obviously. So it didn't matter where you went to school. If you were Catholic, you loved Notre Dame. Now, this was not a situation where, the guy that lived in Chicago that worked at the steel mill, like Rudy's dad, like he didn't have, it's not like he was donating money. There was just a ton of support and love behind it. Now it's different.
Right.
It's a different day and age where, money matters.
Big time.
So, and these collectives, I know for a fact, like people were talking about tampering with Rob Wright. Like that, nobody tampered with Rob Wright. The way that the NIL works is like, I can reach out to, if Scotty is a player and he's a Baylor, and I'm affiliated with a BYU collective, I don't run any of this past Kevin Young. None. I don't have to. I reach out to Scotty's dad or Scotty's agent or whoever is representing him. And I'm like, yo, we got $5 million for Scott if he will come play basketball at BYU. Like, no, and that is like the absolute truth. That is,
and by the current rules, that's totally
100%
in play.
100%.
Yeah.
So until that gets figured out, we'll be talking about things like this at all, but there's no tampering. So like in that situation, and don't like, I think people were like tampering. No tampering at all. And by the way, I still want to bring this up as I echo the sentiments of Jay Billis. Like we talk about Rob Wright leaving and going to BYU or anybody else transferring. It's like, these coaches have been doing this forever. So like, like they introduced, what's his face? Kevin Willard of Villanova yesterday. I honestly, I didn't even want to watch the press conference. I was like, I'm taking a break because that guy seems like, I don't know. It just kind of seems a little, that whole thing seems dirty how he left Maryland. But hey, let's parade him around and hold a press conference. It's much, much different.
Yeah, totally. I did remember the one more thing I wanted to say just to acknowledge the comments. There were several comments. I think it was based on something you said, again, just imprecise language. Yeah. There was clarity. BYU fans want us to know you don't have to be a member of the LDS church to attend BYU.
Okay.
You can be openly whatever you want and it's in BYU. And I think
openly whatever you, what do you mean by that?
Like religious.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I could go as a Baptist and let them know I'm coming. I do have faith. It is Baptist faith. They're totally cool. So
they're a lot like Baylor like that. Like if you, one time I went to a shoot around at the Marriott Center and I was like, what the heck is going on? It was a Tuesday afternoon and there's cars everywhere. And they were like, oh no, this is like, they hold like a worship, like churches and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Just like Baylor.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Baylor does that on Mondays. Cool. Yeah. So yes, we apologize for imprecise language. We love BYU.
Yeah. We really do.
They had so much to the Big 12. Yeah. It's now number one on my list of away visits I need to make in the Big 12.
Yeah.
All love. But thanks for the comments, and I hope you'll continue to interact.